With hardly any violence, very little blood, it still is one of the most disturbing books I have ever read. Hello everyone, welcome to Harry's Book Cafe. Today let's talk about V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic. When it was first published in 1979, the reaction was immediate. Because of its incredibly controversial content, many school libraries across the US seek to ban the book. Strasson's effect has never been stronger. The ban spectacularly backfired. Because of that forbidden effect, many teenagers really wanted to get their hands on the book. So much so that teenagers, which is the predominant audience of this book, swapped the books around secretly behind the school. Before I start the review, however, here are some quick trigger warnings. The book deals with child neglect, child starvation, as well as incestuous relationship. The book starts with a very cozy feeling, almost as if I'm reading a grow-up version of The Famous Five. It starts with this perfect American family, a mother, a father, and 4 children. The family is comfortable because the dad has a significant earning power. However, one day, tragic descended upon them. The father was killed in a car accident. Previously rose-tinted view of the family start to disintegrate. We realize as readers that all this beautiful lifestyle, expensive cars, luxury items was really purchased on credit. So much so that the mother, now a single mother, who hasn't worked a single day in her life, cannot repay the debt that has been accumulated over the years. She has to move out of the house. The house has been repossessed by the bank. She and her 4 kids has no place to go but to go back to the single mother's parents' property. It is also at this point that the reader was told that the children's grandmother hated their mother's guts, but the mother naively hoping that the grandchildren can sway the old woman's heart to her favor. Instead, the grandmother locked the 4 children in the attic and completely forbidden to let out. The mother almost pleaded with her children to stay quiet in the attic, and in the meantime, she will do everything in her power to persuade her father to change the whole situation. She told her children that they only need to stay in the attic a few days. The few days turned into few weeks. Weeks turned into months. And things start to change for the worse. I don't want to go into too much detail of what followed because I want you to enjoy the book itself. The grandmother, she's one who locked up the kids. She's one who holding the key. She's the one who has control. She is the epitome of evil. On the surface, it is very understandable to come to that conclusion. However, actually, let's talk about the mother. Because honestly, she's the most disturbing part of the entire book. At the beginning, she's everything you'd expect. A beautiful mother, warm, protective, showers her children with nothing but love. The kind of person you don't even question. And that is exactly why what happened next works so well. Because she doesn't suddenly becomes the villain. She drifts into it. And that's what makes me angry, because it's not what she does exactly, but how understandable it starts to feel like. At first, her decision seems temporary, justified, even necessary. She tells herself it's for the future, for survival, for her family. But if you really look at it, it wasn't about survival. It's really compromise. And those compromises stack up. One small decision leads to another small decision, leads to another small decision, until eventually she crosses the line that she can't come back. And the disturbing part really is that there is no clear line. As a reader, you can't tell exactly when she becomes this bad person. No dramatic turning point, just slow erosion of who she was. And I think in many ways that's exactly what the book's trying to point out, that an individual cannot change overnight. It takes time. They become unrecognizable through a series of choices, series of decisions that they convinced themselves that it was acceptable at the time. She made me so angry because we as a reader sees the world, sees the narration from the children's perspective, and we see this betrayal of someone who's supposed to love us unconditionally. If there's one love in the whole world that we can rely on, and that is love from a mother, and yet that is the very essence of this holiness that's being tinted and betrayed. I remember when I was reading this book, and the more I read, the more weird and strange that I feel towards the mother. So much so that I pick up my phone and ask AI whether or not feeling hatred towards the woman is normal, or am I just the outliner? And to my relief, that my feeling of infuriation towards the woman is very common amongst the readers. The book, I read it on Kindle, it's pretty densely packed. And yet at the same time, the words, the sentence, the structures are very simply done in using simple words and simple phrases. And despite how heavy the book feels, it flows. It really does flow. I finished the book quite quickly. Even though most of the time it's a slow burn horror in a way, you can't help but to turn the page. It's sort of like an oxymoron. I guess you really have to read the book to understand this dichotomy. The simple style make the book flow, and yet at the same time, I think precisely because this stylish choice can somehow undermine the emotional impact. But that's the only criticism I can think of. The book is famous for its incestual relationship towards the end. It only makes up tiny, maybe 2 pages out of 400 pages, it's related to the incest. And yet it's precisely these 2 pages that made this book infamous. This book became so famous that 2 years after its publication, it's already sold 3 million copies worldwide. And today, 2026, it has sold more than 40 million copies. Despite the controversy, and perhaps because of the controversy, it became a classic cult that book lovers around the world, it's turning its pages. And if you like something that's disturbing but not in a bloody way, in a violent way, then this is something that you should definitely give it a try. If you're looking for something perhaps a little bit more uplifting, then this is not your book. Let's go back to its popularity. It became so popular that even after V.C. Andrews' death, the book series continues, written by ghostwriters. But I do have to warn you, after reading this book, it really burns me out in a way. It really disturbed me so much that for a long time I couldn't really pick up another book. So beware that this might also happen to you. But that's it for this book review. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope you have liked my analysis of The Mother. Next week, we're going to talk something a little bit more lighthearted. You know, the Strange Houses that I reviewed a few months ago, that became one of my most watched most watched video. Yukusu has just released the new version, or the next instrument of the Strange Houses is called Strange Buildings, and I'm going to review that next week. Needless to say, it is absolutely brilliant. So if you want to see that, please give a thumb up to this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next week. Cheerio, guys. Have a lovely week.